We are back with the supply side, and today we have Boyd Evert, President of Harvest Revenue. And I'm glad you're here. I know that you travel extensively, so it's good to have you in country, so to speak.
It's good to be here.
One of the things that we want to talk about today is this OTIF, on time, in full. Now, I know Wal-Mart talked about this a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, but as we humans do, a lot of us wait until the last minute to figure it out and to get things in place. What are you seeing in terms of the clients you work with? And I guess I should back up a little bit. You work with clients to make sure that their accounts, their accounting, their contracts with Wal-Mart essentially pan out the way they're supposed to. I know that's oversimplification,
Right.
but you work with them on that. So when it comes to this new OTIF, or not new, but newly implemented OTIF program, what are you seeing in terms of how the suppliers are responding and trying to protect themselves against chargebacks and fines?
Right. OTIF is the latest in a series of cost shifts that Wal-Mart's introduced. A couple of years ago, the terms and conditions introduced a warehouse allowance, right? Previous 3 or 4 decades, Wal-Mart was dead net. They wanted all of those allowances netted out of cost, and now they've crept back into the cost of goods, and Wal-Mart has insisted on keeping those costs at the same level, and the suppliers have had to pay out an additional 1% for the warehouse allowance and then 10% for new store. Added cash discount to categories that historically have never offered cash discount, as well as extended dating well beyond the turn, that is how long it takes Wal-Mart to sell through the merchandise. So we see OTIF as just one of those cost shifts, the latest to be introduced. And right now, the supplier community is very concerned. Right now,
Large and small?
Large and small.
Okay.
Right. Because anything can go wrong for any reason. For example, right, the hurricanes.
No, yeah. Well,
Right?
you're getting ahead to a question, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, right. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I remember going to, speaking at a Retail Link user group meeting back when MABD was being rolled out, and there was an ice storm.
MABD.
Must arrive by date. That was the supplier reliability. Yeah, this is the latest incarnation of that.
Yeah, I've learned in this retail
program.
community they almost have as many acronyms as
do.
the space program.
They do. It's full of acronyms. So what we're seeing here is Wal-Mart holding the suppliers to a standard that is almost ensures that they're going to fall out of compliance at least once or twice a month. And the claims that those generate, the claims that we're hearing about right now recently, are 7 or 8 figures.
My goodness. So, but Walmart has said they're phasing it in. They go from a certain percent and then the percentages get higher.
Right.
Is that helping, or is it still so drastic up front that it's hurting some of the suppliers?
It's a shock to the system that once they're brought online, and the ones that helped pilot the programs were told, well, we're going to have you go early. So the ones that were working closely with Wal-Mart are being pushed into production sooner than other suppliers would have been, and that wasn't part of the expectation.
Well, okay, so let's get to the part of this that nobody was counting on was Hurricane Harvey, and you can't hit such a large swath of country. I mean, a double-digit percentage of Walmart stores, for example, and distribution centers were hit. Is this going to impact, and do you see Walmart pulling back a little bit and providing some allowances, whether system-wide or for that part of the country?
Back in the MABD world, when the ice storm hit, they did. But right now there's been a surprising lack of clarity about whether or not they're going to exempt that area of the country. And then, of course, we've got Florida and the interruptions to service that's going to introduce. This introduces another layer of complexity. Certain stores are having issues miscoding shrink meaning something that's stolen or damaged in a store. They're classifying it as defective merchandise, and certain areas of the country, certain regions have a higher defective rate for the same merchandise sold at the same time of year that's shipping out of the same facility. So the only thing that's different is the location where it's being sold.
So the Walmart employees are the ones labeling it defective.
That are labeling defective. Some of them are hourly. So I'm saying this could be a training opportunity, right? But one of those areas, one of those
That's a nice
areas,
way to put it.
thanks. One of those areas is Miami.
Okay.
According to our research, many of those stores come up in multiple categories when we're doing this analysis, looking to see what are the drivers for excessive defective claims. And that's another one of those cost shifts where you have Walmart trying to fix its issue with shrink. Perhaps some of the stores are taking it upon themselves to miscode it.
While at the same time you've got this delivery issue.
Right, exactly.
Let me, this may be an unfair question because I may be asking you to get in the head of the Walmart CEOs, but the German discounters, Aldi, Lidl, have really hit. How much of this push for on-time delivery, the push to keep low cost, how much of that is fueled by Walmart realizing these deep discounters are coming to America, and they're coming to America in a big way?
Right, they're fighting a two-front war. So they've got the brick and mortar that's coming over,
right,
deep discounters, plus you've got e-commerce.
Amazon.
And so what that's creating this perfect storm of the pressure on margin. So we're aware of several suppliers that have undergone margin audits over the last few years. So Walmart, in trying to match prices and trying to stay competitive and lowering its price to match a high-low, for example, where you've got somebody that's moving their retail cost up and down throughout the year. That's what we refer to as a high-low versus an EDLC, EDLP,
right,
where you have occasional rollbacks, but it's pretty steady. That has put a lot of pressure, and so what Walmart has done is hired third-party firms to go back and look at the margin. In one case at Sam's Club that we're aware of, the supplier was asked to make up the margin, lost margin. It was in 8 figures.
Retroactively?
Retroactively.
Wow.
From the previous year, and they were seeking 8 figures, and they said, if we don't get it, we're going to reduce your SKU count, reduce your shelf space. So they were faced with a dilemma. We could either.
It's an offer you can't.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to stay in, if you want to stay here.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the Walmart side, we saw a similar issue where there was a national price increase. The stores, the Walmart was slow to implement that increase. They took the cost, so the cost went up, and they kept the retail down, and then they eventually brought it up. But that period of time, that window of time, where the cost was high and the retail was low, Walmart lost margin, and within weeks after they finally brought the retail to match everyone else in the country, they went back and retroactively asked for that supplier to make up the lost margin. And the supplier said, we notified you repeatedly to bring your retail up, and you failed to do so. Now you're holding us accountable for something that you failed to do. That we can't.
We're going to have you back many times because this has many layers to it, as you mentioned earlier. One last question, though. I'm a potential client for you. We get on an elevator. You've got 30 seconds to tell me why I need protection, not just from Walmart, but from Target,
right,
H-E-B, anybody in the retail world.
Right. Well,
30 seconds.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
So we not only help suppliers reduce the risk of getting post-audit claims and also dispute existing claims, we go in and we true up the entire year. So there's occasions where suppliers overfund events, where a rollback, let's say, ends early and they're not notified, so they continue to invoice at the lower cost. We document that you've overfunded this rollback and you need to be repaid. And in some cases, we've collected in high 7 figures where the retailer has cut a check to our client due to the research that we've done.
Good. Boyd, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
We're back on the supply side with Kim Souza, our all things retail and Walmart reporter. Kim, we had Boyd Evert in here earlier with Harvest Revenue Group. Interesting discussion. I fear we just scratched the surface on what he's doing, so we're going to try to have him back.
Good.
But talk to me, we're going to address some of the same things, but from a different angle. Talk to me about the supplier accountability program, a new program in place around merchandising errors, and why that's causing some, put it mildly, some concern in the supplier community.
Okay, this past week, Walmart, actually the memo went out in July. I got a hold of it this week. It was a reminder to suppliers that,
A friendly reminder.
by the way, we can and will begin charging you for the errors in your paperwork for your item setups. Hefty fines. The first time you get a pass, the second time it's $5,000. It doubles every time after, and so on. So there's no cap to what it could be.
Is that by product? So that's by product, for
Yes.
product.
Yes.
So and that's the same rate whether you're a large or a small supplier then.
Absolutely. They said there are far too many errors being submitted to the buying team, and because they've downsized their merchandising department, they just don't have time to do the work that
Right.
suppliers should be doing right the first time.
And some of those errors, I think in your story was maybe you don't have the barcode right, or you
The
don't.
UPC
UPC
code,
is not.
Item descriptions aren't completely filled out, and just a whole litany of errors. It's a cumbersome it's a cumbersome process, no doubt, since the online has been added in. But Walmart has tried to automate some of that. Suppliers just haven't all gotten on board yet.
So what has Walmart, since the story's published, what has Walmart said, and what have you heard from the supplier community? How has that evolved since then?
Well, Walmart Vice President of Logistics, Catherine McLay, said last week Walmart doesn't really want to be in the business of fining its suppliers. That said, Walmart is trying to run a leaner, more
Right.
agile operation, and they're doing it with less people, and they need suppliers to ante up and submit the right stuff. And
So Walmart sees this as an incentive to perform better, correct?
yes, and they said, our customers don't give us a pass when we don't have a product, and so you don't get a pass either.
Now is this, and this may be an unfair question, is this something it's not just Walmart? Do you think Target, some of the other large retailers and grocers are doing this also, or?
Okay, in the supplier accountability realm, other retailers have long charged suppliers for things like slotting fees.
Right.
Walmart, Sam Walton never really wanted to do that. If you remember, Sam Walton's mission was to get to the low cost of everything,
Right.
so he could pass along the low price. In the last few years, Walmart has begun to add in more fees, and warehousing fee, for
Right, the
instance, has
1%,
been adding in. While other suppliers do, while other retailers do it, they don't always recommend the lowest price.
Right. They don't have that focus on the
Yeah,
price.
so
Or then
kind of a
coming back on the margin
kind of a
pressures later.
catch-22 there.
So you mentioned fees and fines. Give me a sense of what other structures are in play with Walmart between Walmart and its suppliers.
Okay, I mentioned the 1% warehousing fee.
That's been in place for a while, though.
A couple of years now. That's for a product that just may cross through a warehouse.
Right.
It may not even actually sit in a warehouse. It may just cross dock. That raised some eyebrows a couple of years ago. Suppliers are kind of getting along with that now. But the OTIF fees just were recently instituted in August, and those can be hefty because that's 3% of the invoice amount when a shipment is not in full or on time. So you add all of these things together, it's the cost of doing business with Walmart is more than it used to be.
Yeah, and it's complicated too, which is, I guess, why people like Boyd Evert are busier and busier these days. These third-party auditors.
There's more room for error.
Right.
And errors equal chargebacks.
Yep.
And that's an additional cost for suppliers.
And I asked this question of Boyd also, but I want your take on it. These deep discounters, little Aldi, are really coming in. Do you see some of this, what Walmart's doing, and maybe other retailers are doing, and I just don't know about it, but at least Walmart, do you see this as a response to that, trying to make sure that they're squeezing everything out of the margin, bringing all the efficiencies into the margin, so that margin is healthier as they try to compete with those German deep discounters?
I think so. I think Walmart, Doug McMillan's mission is to be the low cost retailer. And that's getting harder and harder
Right.
to do. If you think about all the services Walmart wants to provide too, the pickup and the
Right.
online and whatnot, the mobile pay, some of these low cost retailers don't have all those services that Walmart is spending billions on. So
Well, and it'll be interesting. It's not really a question. It'll be interesting as they buy some of these upper scale retailers too, these online retailers. That's not a low cost space necessarily. I mean,
No.
those are premium products. So
I just think Walmart's mission is to be the best and the lowest cost, and suppliers get squeezed in the process. That's just how it is.
well, this is an ongoing story. This is not going to be our last discussion, but thanks for your time today.
Sure.